to 30 days or whatever. And if that fails, we would come back. I'm being advised that it would have to go back to underwriting, so we would need more than the 30 days.
How much time do you need? Or should it have a time frame?
We're bringing an item later in today's agenda where we've asked to come back by September. So I would say, again, I don't think it'll take that long, but it'll need to go back to underwriting. Underwriting, I anticipate, would probably be 30 to 45 days. Then our agenda item process is usually a 45-day agenda item process. If we can't make it back before July, when we know July, August, we're not here. So it's, again, we want to make sure we're bringing you back a project that financially pencils out.
Mayor?
Administrator.
I would suggest that we extend the time frame, the deadline, not necessarily approve the item and work with them. I think we need to just extend the deadline, give staff direction to go back and work with the developer to see how this comes out. If we can't make anything work, we won't bring it back without meeting the 110. If for whatever reason we can make it work, which I'm hoping we can, then we bring it back as soon as possible, but no later than the September date, because we don't want to tie up funding if this project is not going to move. But I want to give us plenty of time to work with them, to also get it back through the underwriters, and then get it on your schedule. Does that work?
That works. The challenge I'm having, though, is this. By July, we can anticipate that prices will increase even more.
Tomorrow.
Right.
So
I believe the developer is going to be in just as much, he's going to be just as rushed as we are to get this done before all the things start clicking and cost continues to escalate. If we can bring it back faster, we will. We'll bring it back as fast as we possibly can. But I want to give us that outside deadline of September so that we will have ample time to do what needs to be done without having to come back to the board and extend again, if you don't. I mean, otherwise, you know, you can tell us June, we can bring it back in June before the July and August vacation starts to happen.
Should be able to make it.
thank you, Administrator Baker. So I'll amend my amendment to the substitute motion, not emotion, motion, to extend the time frame so that it gives staff and the developer an opportunity to look at this and see if the possibility is there to lower costs and bring it back at 110% of area median income. That's the substitute motion.
And
Okay, could you, I'm sorry, we were distracted for a moment. Could you repeat the motion? I apologize. Or can I have the clerk read the motion back to us?
The substitute motion is to
Can you talk a
Can you
little
hear me?
louder, please?
was to extend the time frame to give staff and the developer, the staff an opportunity to work with the developer to see if they could meet the 110% AMI parameters.
Is that
That
correct?
was it. It was
want an outside date
Yeah,
in that.
so it's
No,
not out there.
no later than September, and it was a committee substitute for committee substitute to the
September
main
19th.
amendment.
September 19th. Yeah.
All right, well, everybody's talking. So we have a motion,
Seconded by Weiss.
seconded by Commissioner Weiss. I still have 3 lights on. Would you like to talk,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Baxter?
I would. In the essence of the amount of staff, bringing this from 120 to 110 on this particular project, how much does that lower the costs?
For the 2-2 that was at 120%, it would bring it down to $2,651 per month. For the 3-2 at 110%, it would bring it to $3,064 per month.
And we're talking a total of 28 units that this would impact?
Yes.
I mean, a couple $100 a month is a big deal, so I thought you were going to come back with less when I asked that question briefly. But, I mean, staff time, and I think there was a point made that keeping it 110 keeps it consistent with other projects that we have going on, but I guess I'm asking my board, would the going to the 110 really be worth the weight of what we're doing for this particular one, and then from this one, if we approve it, we say anyone forward, we can set max on HIP dollars at 110%. I'm just curious because there's a lot of time, effort, builders, staff have put into this over a very long period of time to then, again, like I will support what you want. I'm just asking this question because I feel like it's a huge squeeze for not a lot of benefit.
Well, it's $250 a month and $278 a month. So it may not.
And then it's still not guaranteed they can make that work. It might kill the whole project. Therein lies, I guess, the other problem. And we need units for workforce, not just for affordable. And this is the more upper end of a workforce class of people. So I know it seems like a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I'm torn on this one. This is why.
Mayor, and Commissioner Baxter, Vice Mayor Baxter makes a valid point. Staff has put a lot of time and effort into this. They've worked with the developer. We're sending them back. It's going to be a lot more time and effort. My original goal would be to approve this. If the board, how about this? We can do a CS to the CS to the CS, which is a committee substitute to the committee substitute to committee substitute of the motion to approve. And if that fails, then, so I'd like to amend my amendment to the original motion. Can I substitute my substituted motion?
He can amend, it hasn't been voted on.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to approve the project. I'm substituting my previous motion, the previous substitute, so it's a committee substitute. I'm withdrawing it. That's even better. Now we're down to business. To approve as written on our agenda or in the staff. That's the motion.
Mayor,
Yes.
could I have that repeated, please?
I believe Commissioner Powell is making an amended motion because he withdrew his other motions to approve this item. Is that correct, Commissioner Powell?
Yes. So it's a motion to approve general obligation housing bond loan program for affordable housing I got the wrong one. Sorry. Wrong one. Approved Housing Initiative Program, HIP Workforce Housing Development Award to Danza of Westgate LLC in the amount of $3,147,739 for the Westgate Terrace Apartments project.
And B and C.
And it's the substitute motion
And B and C.
for Commissioner Flores' original motion. And B and C.
Got that?
Second?
Yeah.
So basically, it's the motion, it's what's written in the book. Thank you. And then I got a second from Commissioner Weiss.
Do you need a third?
I don't think I need a third. So we just need 4 votes. So Commissioner Woodward has her light on and patiently had her light on for a while.
Thank you. I would just like to remind everyone, because I will be answering to my district, my people on this. We are doing 28 of these units at 120% AMI. What is the income for someone who's earning 120% of AMI?
We asked for a chart of that, and we never bring it.
Yeah, just,
It's attached to the agenda. It's
Attached
attached,
to the
Commissioner,
item.
to the item. If you are a household of 4,
no,
that in,
could you, we're talking 2 bedrooms here for the most part here. So what is the person, or,
if you're a 2-person household, you said 120% AMI?
yes?
It is $102,840.
Now, does that require 2 incomes? Can it be, a couple where one works and one doesn't because there's children, or it's just the income of the household?
It's an income of a household with 2 people, so it could be one working, one not. It could be a parent and a child, or
So it is a family that's earning 6 figures.
Yes.
I can't support this. I'm sorry. I can't.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I think it's up to the mayor to decide, because I have a feeling that I've got 3 yeses over here. I have a feeling that I have 2 noes over here. I'd really like to see you come down to 110%.
If we can, we will. And if you vote us, and after we do the construction drawings and we do the bidding, that's when we really know what the costs will be. And we will come back and apprise you. But I really appreciate the fact that we have relieved some of the time pressure so that we can continue to go forward with HUD
Oh,
and
you
not
haven't
lose.
relieved anything. There's no vote yet.
I understand, but you
The
potentially.
mayor hasn't voted, and apparently I'm the tiebreaker here, so I'm not
Potentially,
liking that
potentially.
idea.
I'm just saying that if we can, we will, regardless.
Wow. Commissioner Weiss, when you looked up the other rents in the area for the other development, what were the going rates in there? Because if there's a need, and I'm sorry, please, in the audience, please.
So this was a one-bedroom over there. It was $21.93
Available or rented or
available.
available?
They don't have 2 or 3 bedrooms showing availability.
So they're renting the one bedroom for what the proposers have developed here for a 2-bedroom. And we need 2-bedroom units. We need 3-bedroom units. Oh, wow. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Powell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sacks. Commissioner Weiss.
Yes.
Commissioner Woodward.
No.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
Yes.
Mayor Marino.
Yes, but I want 110. I'm sorry, you have to sharpen your pencils. I'm saying yes because we need units. That's the only reason I am saying yes. And we need units yesterday. And while I know we would love nonprofits to be building these, that doesn't happen. We do need for-profit folks to come to the table. There are 9 other units in this development that we did not talk about, but you did give me lower rates on those 9 units. If we voted no, those 9 units don't even get built either. So I'm voting a very, very hesitant yes. And I want these units to come back a little cheaper.
Madam Mayor, may we also give staff direction for future HIP projects
Absolutely.
to stay under the 110 or under, so we don't run into this again in the future?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And just for staff clarity, are we 110 or are we 120?
No,
This project,
on this project, we are 120. However, we are asking the developers to sharpen their pencils and come back less than that. It's not a requirement, but it would be a wish. Okay? And are we okay, Attorney Kaufman? All right, wow. Okay.
Just,
Now we're now on
do we have any more
6D3,
projects in the pipeline
if I'm not mistaken.
approved before
No, Village of Valor.
120?
We just did 6D2. We are now on 6D3. We've talked about this and talked about this and talked about this. Does anybody need a presentation for Village of Valor?
Thank you.
We have 3 cards. We will take those 3 cards.
Alexandria Larson, Mrs. Mary Lawrence Brom, and Anastasia Coles.
Does he have the item? Does he have it? That's what I'm asking. Just because it's there doesn't mean he has it.
Ms. Coles, this has to do with the agenda item. This is not about the safe police that you were talking about. This has to do with the agenda item that we're speaking about, which is the Village of Valor. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I was going to talk about how, because some of you were hesitant about the program already, I was going to talk about another option that could actually make things easier for everybody.
Does it have to do with housing?
Yes, it's housing housing specific.
All right, go right ahead.
Yes. So in regards to FEH, which is freedom, equality, and happiness, there's a housing option in which the cost for housing and even development could actually be taken care of by actually very educated and intelligent officers that I had mentioned before. And they would actually set up a form of capitalism that would help, like, make it easier for low-income or working-class folks to transition into the more expensive housing in Palm Beach County. And so programs like this, where we have this loan program, these are currently being used, but I believe this would be a better option in regards to placing people into housing, resolving the issue where, you know, some people can't afford it, and making it easier for the general public. Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Mary Bram, I'm going to be very brief. I am for this project here. The veterans and their families. And we know that they are struggling all across the landscape. So, but to put something here to give them that affordable component, kudos to you. Kudos to the chair, kudos to the vice chair, kudos to all of the commissioners, kudos to the staff for seeing the need of this vital issue here. But I do have a question here. It's two, so they're gonna be quick and easy. Is this strictly for the Palm Beach County veterans? It's not outside of Palm Beach County veterans? Now, see, I knew I had to ask that question. Next question is, will some of the units which are built be for any other tenants except for the VA veterans and their families? So those are the two questions. Will these components be strictly built for the Palm Beach County veterans and their families? So I'm sure everybody understands that. If it's outside or strictly inside. So please answer that. So Ms. Bram can go home here. It's almost 5 o'clock.
Well, normally we don't do question and answer here,
Yes.
but I think the clarity of that would help the board. So
Yes,
staff,
okay.
if you want to go ahead and answer that question.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Under the federal fair housing laws, we can't under the federal fair housing laws, we're not going to be able to put those absolute restrictions on there, but certainly this project is intended for Palm Beach County veterans, but it is a preference for veterans. It does not exclude others if the units cannot be filled with veterans. We need to remain in compliance with the federal fair housing laws.
Thank you.
Ms. Larson? Did she leave? Okay. All right. I don't see her, so I will ask for, I have a motion to approve. I have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? See that the motion carries 6-0. We are now on to, I know, but we still have. Well, B4 is also the same. Drexel Road Senior Apartments. Well, why don't we finish housing and economic development? Ordered for
And then we did 3.
Could I make a motion to reorder to finish housing?
Yes. We have a motion to
Okay.
reorder, we have a motion to reorder so that we may finish housing and economic development.
Second.
Okay, perfect. All in favor? All opposed? See that that motion carries 6-0, and we will now go on to D4.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. 64 is a request for us to extend the review and approval period for the Drexel project. It was conceptually approved. The board encouraged them to go after state dollars, which would lower the cost of their project. They were successful in getting those dollars. Now they have to wait the protest period. And so we're looking to bring this item back to you on or before September 19th of this year.
Thank you. And do we have any cards?
Yes.
All right.
Brian Finney and Lisa Cantrell. Oh, did Brian wish to speak?
No, you did. I just withdrew. I don't wish to speak.
I don't
Okay,
wish to
thank
speak.
you.
Okay.
And I withdraw. Thank you very much. Okay. We have no more cards. Do I have a motion?
Wait.
All in favor? All opposed? See that that motion carries 6-0. We actually do have one more housing and economic development. That was the add-on, which is D5, which is the award from Congressman Sheila Scherflis McCormick. And I'm not going to say that 3 times fast, so
I move to approve it.
we have
one card?
one card.
Oh, maybe not. Alexandria Larson? Did she leave?
Well, Ms. Larson's not here at the moment, so.
Okay.
So we had a motion from the vice mayor, a second from Commissioner Flores, I believe? Oh, a third. Commissioner Weiss, were you the second? Yes. Okay. We had a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? See that that motion carries 6-0. Now we're going to go back to page 89, which would be risk management. The staff is looking for a motion to approve. And would anyone like a presentation?
No, but I'll move to approve it.
Could we
Unless
get
you really want to give that presentation?
could we get a very, very short version?
Okay.
Just because I think the public ought to know this is a
The fact that we're
this is good
saving
news.
money, I think we could
Yeah.
do just a,
So, forgive me, Mayor, if you don't mind. I need to leave at 5, and Commissioner Powell is going to be giving a direction under comments for me, so thank you.
all righty, brief.
Can I
Mr.
ask you a
Martin.
question, if I may, before?
Commissioner Flores.
Since we're losing another commissioner, I think there's still a lot of business to be. Is there any way that we can just table the rest of the meeting to the next?
Risk management is here. This will take a couple minutes, and then we're at where we should be.
Well, we're losing another commissioner.
That's all right. We still have a quorum. We still have a quorum.
Okay, good afternoon. I promise I'll be incredibly brief. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, County Administrator. My name is Scott Marting. I'm the Director of Risk Management. With me, obviously, is Assistant County Administrator Reggie Duran and Helene Viz, who's our County Attorney. Just very quickly, I'm going to give you a summary. I want to give kudos to Brown & Brown, who's our contracted insurance broker who's helped us through this process. We did our annual insurance renewal, focusing mostly on property. We understood there was an opportunity for savings this year. We went and personally met with over 30 underwriters to tell Palm Beach County's story, talk about the things that make us different from everybody else, because I think that's the important thing for us, is to talk about the things that make us different. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go right to the highlights of the results. And that'll be one slide and we'll be done. The summary, the highlight is we had a 5.7% decrease, which equated to basically just over $1 million in savings. We increased our named wind coverage from 145 million to 155 million. That number is derived from a 100-year storm event. All of our property portfolio goes into a model, and the model tells us what they believe our maximum probable loss would be after our deductible. So that's why we went to the 155 million. We have a decrease in the maximum wind deductible. It used to be 33.25 million. Now it's at 25 million. We increased our non-wind coverage from 200 million to 215 million. And this is all while our total insured values went from 2.97 billion to 3.1 billion. In addition, I wanted to make sure I included cyber for Commissioner Weiss, where there was a 2.42% decrease in cyber, and we also increased some of our sublimits. Our workers' compensation did increase by 4.6%, but that was due specifically to an increase in payroll over the expiring year. And we're going to continue to work to promote Palm Beach County and explain to everyone why we're the best of everything and why we're different. And that is my presentation.
Fabulous. Do we have any cards?
No cards.
Do we have any questions for staff?
Good job.
I got a comment.
Commissioner
I
Powell?
would like to say, good job. I mean, to come in and save over $1 million on our coverages and to increase coverages in other areas. And of course, the number of buildings that the county has. I mean, this is, you know, it just should be recognized. This is remarkable. So thank you, staff. Thank you, team, for looking at this. Kudos. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
We got a motion from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are on to 6C1, Community Services. Does anyone need a presentation? Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve, please?
Make a motion to approve, receive and file A, and approve B and C.
I have a motion from Commissioner Woodward, a second from Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? All opposed? See that that motion carries 5-0. We took care of all the housing and economic development items on our agenda. We have one item from Planning, Zoning, and Building, which is an interlocal agreement with the City of Belgrade for an annexation. Does anyone need a presentation?
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor? All opposed? See that that motion carries 5-0. Engineering. We are on item 6F1, 1A and B. This is about traffic controls. Do we need a presentation?
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
No. You do?
Their lights and their light up.
Very brief presentation, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
So you heard the words brief presentation?
Super fast.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and Commissioner Administrator Baker. Just real briefly, with me is with Pontran, Ivan Madado, the Executive Director of Pontran, Ara Dangleton. She's the Strategic Planning Manager. With me with Fire Rescue, David Woodside, and Deputy County Administrator, Mr. Patrick Rutter, and Liz Herman from the County Attorney's Office. We'll briefly just kind of go over the proposed contract for your approval. So this is a contract with Durelco, GTC, an amount of $11 million capacity contract. What this will do will allow a contract allows to do preemption for fire rescue and the priority for Palmtran. So reduce emergency vehicle travel times, helps with Palmtrans and transit vehicles, and helps with on-time performance. And so graphically, it's a cloud-based system with the indicators on the emergency vehicles and the Palmtran vehicles. Electronically will work with the signal itself, provide that type of technology. So I'll turn over to Palmtran real quick.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone here.
Wait, no,
I'm sorry.
you go.
Now, good afternoon, everyone here today. We're excited about this opportunity. We were able to acquire funding from the TPA of about $2 million to be able to provide this TSP system along US 1 covering, I believe it's a total of 182 signal which will allow us to have preemption on buses, which basically what it means, it allows the green light to hold for about 3 seconds so the buses go through. We'll be able to equip 140 buses with this first phase. We have a future phase that would actually bring in about $2.8 million for other areas such as Okeechobee, State Road 7, Lake Worth Roads connecting to US 1. And all of this is related to our 561 plan, where we are enhancing transit services along major corridors. We're excited about this opportunity. King County Metro in Washington experienced up to 14% reduction in intersection delays because of this. San Francisco Transit was able to experience about 7% travel delay reductions. Rhode Island Transit was able to experience on one of their routes that were able to actually reduce the number of buses on that route from 13 to 12. So we think it's a great opportunity for us to continue to improve transportation across our network. And that's pretty much my presentation.
Okay.
Perfect.
Mr. Woodside, Fire Rescue?
Mayor, Commissioners, thank you. Fire Rescue is also excited about this. This is something we've been working on for a number of years, trying to find the right product. Commissioner Weiss brought it up a number of years ago, and we've been working in partnership with traffic engineering as well as Palm Trend to have a combined system. It will save, based on the research, about 10 seconds per light. Once the system is fully implemented, it has green to the scene is the concept behind it. So when seconds count, this is what we need. So we're excited about it. We have been funding it for years. So as soon as this is approved, we're gonna jump in and get it done for fire rescue. And the implementation, proof of concept, we've already tested it in conjunction with Palm Trend, but we're going to do one zone at a time to make sure that we're achieving the results that we want. So, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell and Commissioner Weiss, both of your lights are on.
Madam Mayor, I was going to say it seems like a remarkable program. I want to see how it worked. I want to make a motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner Powell, a second from Commissioner Weiss. Any other comments? Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question. Mr. Maldonado, have you all done any modeling as to the impact here? I know you cited some statistics from some other facilities, but have you done any modeling here as to the impact on the Route 1?
I'm going to allow Ira to answer some of those questions. He has been more involved in the process than I have been. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Professor Button.
Oh, I knew that. Good afternoon, guys. I'm going to be really brief. But yes, we haven't done any modeling at the moment. Those numbers that Ivan gave you guys are from the Transportation Cooperative Research Board. So they compile that data throughout transit agencies across the country. So our intent is we will have a CMS system through Jarelco where they'll be tracking the data, and we'll use that. This first go round on US 1 is just the first phase before we take it to other major corridors, as Ivan mentioned. But we will have that information after the first phases of US 1 come in.
Okay. I think, just my suggestion going forward, because I know the data is available, it's reasonable that maybe to have some modeling done so we know what our target. We know what other areas are, but they're not the same as ours. So to get our own targets set up and see how well we can do. So that'd be my recommendation as you move forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? See that motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're now on to Facilities Development and Operations. Staff is looking for a motion to approve amendment number 6 to the data center. Do we need a presentation?
I motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Woodward.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are on item 6G2, adopt a resolution authorizing a lease agreement with Closter Farms.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 6G2A and B.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? See that that motion carries 5-0. See, you put the easy ones toward the end. Office of Equal Business Opportunity, this is a motion to receive and file. Does anyone need a presentation? I think we've heard this quite a few times. Okay.
Did this get pulled? Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve? A motion to receive and file the Office of Equal Business Opportunity fiscal year 2024 report.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second, a motion from Commissioner Woodward, or second from Commissioner Weiss. Anyone need a presentation? I think we're good. No one's looking like they need a presentation. Okay. All right, we got the report. Thank you very much for following the auditors, what we need to do to make this, keep it going. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? See that the motion carries 5-0. Office of Financial Management and Budget. Sherry, you're already up here. Okay. Sadly, this is staff's recommendation to approve a preliminary reading and permission to advertise for public hearing on April 8th, 2025, the sunsetting of the surtax.
We hate to see it go, but we did collect our $2.7 billion, so we're very excited that it's going to end a whole year early.
All right, we had a motion from Commissioner Weiss, Commissioner Flores, a second from Commissioner Weiss. I have Commissioner Woodward's light is on.
I was just curious, how much did we actually collect? Because it continued after, right?
Right, it will continue through December 31st of this year. So we have collected just a little over $2.7 billion. At the end of February, it's 2.726. So it's, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? See that that motion carries 5-0. Okay, we are now on to the first agenda item, which we put to the end, which is item 6A, 1 and 2. The first item is staff's request of board's direction. And Patrick, I think you're here to give us a brief, what we already have in place and what we need to do in the future.
I think I heard
what you're looking for us to say to you.
I think I heard the word brief. Hit
Well-
this quickly. Good evening. Following up on direction, post our January BCC zoning meeting, it was otherwise scheduled for February. We postponed it to today. At the end of the meeting, the mayor kind of coalesced around the points that the board was discussing, and we'll hit those 3 points very quickly. All we're asking for is your direction today. Should any of those direction points precipitate the need to amend your rules, we will bring back a resolution doing so. Look to an April agenda to do that. So first one, there was a discussion about quorum at meetings. You've got rules in place right now that speak to quorums. Long story short, if you don't have a quorum within 30 minutes of the scheduled start time of the meeting dissipates. You lose a quorum at any time, the meeting ends as well. We'd recommend making no changes, nothing you need to address.
And when you say meetings, that would include workshops, because oftentimes on workshops, we have items that we have to vote on.
You can have regular agenda items on the agenda as well. So yes, I would say it applies across the board.
Okay.
That would be one. So again, recommend no changes.
I recommend that we enforce them.
Absolutely. Going forward, we will enforce that.
This conversation could have been done.
Second item, this one is a little bit tougher. What constitutes, board direction? And we definitely would make a distinction between an agenda item proper, where you're talking about something, the board may ask, can you give us a little information on a point? Can you expand on it? Something to that effect. We wouldn't look at that as direction. That's within the context of an item. Conversely, it could lead to something outside that. It's tough. It's a gray area. Wouldn't recommend trying to write and define what it is, because I think the third point that we're going to discuss, where you potentially could have a agendized area for the board to offer direction, might help consolidate and filter down what it is. So, we talked about it here. You understand, the direction to be distinct from the subject item, something different, quite frankly. And we recommend considering that direction at a distinct point to help to that. It would mean on us as staff saying to board members, say it might be appropriate to consider this thought if it's falling outside of what we might see as the agenda item, and up to us, and then the board as well, saying this might fall outside if you have it a spot in the agenda for direction to, address it there. So think it'd be very, very difficult, and don't see the need to, fully define what is direction. That's tough. So we're not recommending any changes in that area. Approval process. So again, would recommend amending the rules to have a spot in the agenda for direction. Then we're kind of in that last spot of how to approve it. Historically, through time, as we've taken direction from boards, we'll get a commissioner who will, I'd like to give direction to do X. There could be an affirmative reaction at times. Sometimes there's not. We'd say if you're making this point, close it out with an affirmative action. That'd be would say the mayor could either look to left or right and say, without objection, potentially you could call for a vote, but certainly an affirmative action of some sort to close the loop on that point. If you're going to address them distinctly, would recommend you take them on and effectively vote for them, affirmatively act on them distinctly. So I've hit it all so far. The only change we're recommending to do is add a spot in the agenda for board direction. If that's your direction today, we would bring you back a resolution with that amendment to your rules. But we're here for any questions you have.
Okay, Commissioner Weiss, your light is on.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the brief presentation. Yeah, I think the only area that I really, so at times we'll have direction, as you say, it's just informational and nothing needs to be done. But other times we'll make what I would say, there's direction, there's what I would say is sort of soft direction, like in the case of wanting to name I don't know, a road after somebody, because of whatever reason. And we'll say, somebody will make under their comments, they'll say without objections, ask staff to please look into doing that. And that seems also relatively clear to me. I think your point that you made, though, I think there are times when we'll ask you to bring back an item or create an item or to look into an ordinance or add something to a workshop, that I think it does need more clarity, and I like the idea of having the mayor ask for a vote, unless it's, and even then, it adds some. So I'm very comfortable supporting that and asking you to bring back this idea of having a specific spot for direction in the meeting, and then the policies that outlined. Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing this back. I'm glad we're staying here to discuss this. I wish Vice Mayor Baxter was still here. I would thank her for her idea of us having a separate agenda item for us to actually give board direction, so it doesn't get jumbled into comments about proclamations and other items. So I very much like that idea. And again, trying to define what direction is, that's impossible. But I think it's one of those things, we know it when we're doing it, and if we don't, it's on you guys to let us know we're giving direction. And it would be for the mayor at the time, and this is for all future stuff, to kind of get consensus from the board so that everybody knows we are doing a thing. Does everybody agree? I like that idea, and it's very important too that, especially when money has to be spent, like that's always has to be a consideration, that needs to be an agenda item that will come back and public comment can happen from that. So as far as that, I'm very happy with what you've brought. It's on us to police ourselves, but it's also on all of you to let us know, because sometimes we may be giving board direction even in our offices, and you need to let us know that's something you need to bring to the board. I would ask, and this is not something I would want to make a requirement, but maybe just a best practices, if, when possible, if we could share with each other by email the day before, if it's going to be something that, you're writing up and maybe we need 24 hours to kind of digest what we're doing. Not that you can't give board direction without it, but just it would be beneficial, I think, for all of us if we could have some of that the day before. Again, not make it a requirement, but just a good practice.
Actually, I have a question for the attorney and for Ms. Baker with what that comment was. because, as Commissioner Weiss did last night, he sent us around information about the process of hiring a search firm for a new county administrator. Is there a policy in place that defines that information? Is it supposed to be something that's, if you're going to bring something forth that's financial, you give it as a commissioner, you send that through. Obviously, none of us are answering because that would be breaking sunshine. But I had heard previously that usually the only time that a commissioner sent notification the night before or whatnot was if there was going to be some financial impact to it. So is there clarification of that, or that's just hearsay?
I believe that's just hearsay, but I would ask the county administrator to confirm.
I don't remember seeing that specific requirement. So, but we will research it. Patrick's looking at it now.
Jumping in your rules right now.
You know what? We're not going to rush through this, so take your time, because this is something that's very important. And, some of us have been here 6 years, some of us have been here 4 years, some of us have been here 2 years, and some of us have been here several months. So the reason we're sitting here doing this is because a lot of things are done just because that's the way they were done in the past. And they're just sort of passed down to us without any guidelines. So what we're asking today is just give us some guardrails. And if a commissioner wants to send something the night before, 2 nights before, to say, under my comments, I'm going to be bringing forth such, it's information for us so that we can do our own research about that. But we, as a board, will not be answering that because that would be breaking sunshine.
Correct. Yes. And just for clarification purposes, when you say if it involves funding, sometimes we spend a lot of staff time on an item. It's not writing any extra checks. However, it is focusing our attention onto doing some research, which we don't mind because that's part of our job. But is that something that you would, if it's a quick something, no worries. But when it takes a lot of staff time, is that something that you would want us to highlight?
I would, only because if we give you 20 board directions and they're going to take 1,000 hours each, that's a lot of work for staff. We need, and we are, as everyone knows, we are 600 or 700 people shy of what we need. So I want to give staff the appropriate time to do things clearly and concisely. And if we inundate them with board directions that are going to take a multitude of hours that then takes them away from board direction we've already given, we do need to know that. Does that make sense? I got lots of lights on. Okay. Commissioner Woodward, did you have anything else? Okay. Commissioner Flores.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that when you ask for an update, I don't think that's board direction. That's just simply asking staff to come back and say this and this and that in that particular. I don't think that's going to require extra work. They should know where everything is at. So, thank you.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to add, if we did have a separate tab that says board direction, I agree with that. And then the logistics of what that entails, what the costs are, how long we anticipate this taking to be done. I think that we could work those things out as we go. But that specific tab, that set aside a standalone board direction tab would be excellent. That's my comment.
And it doesn't mean that we have to, doesn't mean we have to fill it and give board direction every meeting. It just means that there is some place on the agenda for that. Okay. So what motion are you looking for right now?
I'll just point out one thing you have in your rules now.
It says seeking board direction.
Okay.
Do want to point out for you, you do have in your rules now under commissioner comments when possible, middle of the paragraph, when possible, other commissioners, administrator, and attorney should receive such materials in advance. So you kind of address it under the comment aspect, certainly at the board's discretion, how you want to handle it, but it's addressed in that fashion. I think all that we're looking for direction from you, if the if it is to bring back a resolution amending your rules to include a distinct spot in the agenda for direction, they could be looking to do it directly preceding board comments. And we will bring back that spot.
Okay. There is one thing that I would like to say, but Commissioner Powell, did you have any more comments? Commissioner Flores, are you done?
I have one.
Okay.
I do have one comment, but it was regarding what you said earlier. So I don't know if you want to
Go right
make your
ahead.
comment first?
Go ahead.
So regarding when fellow commissioners sent an email the night before, and it's going to be, or at least brought up during their commissioner comments, I don't feel that should be discussed publicly until we all agree that it's a discussion to be had. One, it catches us off guard and gives us no time really to prepare on any agenda item if it's sent at 5 o'clock the evening before. And I'm using the example of yesterday just as an example, but this could be on any subject. So I would like it for that person to introduce it during their comments, and maybe if it's a discussion item that we agree, which we said it would have to be board direction, be brought back up at the next meeting. I just think it creates a clear pathway to getting things on the agenda. And it's sort of what I heard yesterday from our administrator on how we do that.
Well, I think the process is, if the communication comes out the night before, it's just that it's something that they want to bring up. We won't be, we can discuss it during their comments, which is how we got to where we are right now. But again, if it's something that has to be voted on, it would have to be an agenda item going forward. Okay. I see no more lights on. That's me. Okay. I did have one question. I would really like administration to make all attempt to get backup documentation to us no later than the Friday before. Okay, because I don't want to be reading backup material at 5 o'clock Monday the night before. And I know we've said this before, but I think going forward this is very, very important, because if backup material comes to us, with a day's notice, we have talked about not just pulling it on our agendas, and going forward, I think that's what we will do. So
That is our rule. I will be enforcing it, and whoever replaces me should also be, normally I do unless there's an emergency. The 2.25 million today, that particular item, we found out when Todd got back from DC that we really needed to move that and confirm those dollars. Otherwise, they could have been swept. Normally, my rule is I don't even want it on Friday because people are busy on Friday. So we need to get that information in. And so there will be items that will not get on, and I have not put items on because they didn't meet the deadline. But if there is an emergency such as that, I would beg the board's indulgence. And what we will do is highlight why it is so late.
great. Thank you. All good? All right, so clear as mud? All right, so now we are on item 6A2, which is the discussion about the tool we are going to use in which to process the performance reviews of the county attorney, county auditor, and county administrator. We have the tools here. This is the questionnaire, I should say, for all three of those. I'd like to actually ask the board a couple questions. One is, I think everyone on the board got a letter from the auditor saying that he gets reviewed by the audit committee, and would that suffice as the review, since we really don't have any idea what the auditor does? I mean, we know what an auditor does, but I'd like to have some weigh-ins on that. Commissioner Woodward and then Commissioner Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a meeting with the internal auditor on this very topic, and I'm okay with them doing the evaluation, but we don't have a relationship with the committee. as far as them presenting to us or even having something like a quarterly update or any real relationship. Even when there's been a few findings in an audit, he's the one that's come to us. So if we're going to rely on them to do this evaluation, how do we have some sort of feedback with the committee? So that, you know, if we have questions or, I mean, because technically he does work for us, even though he doesn't work as directly with us as our attorney and an administrator, how can we make sure that they're going to either present to us or have some sort of a relationship that we can rely on and not just, you know, get a file in our inbox?
I think probably have them present to us.
Can we request that of them? I don't know. I don't understand the relationship with us in the committee. Can we compel them to? Or are we making, please, will you do this? What are our options here?
I'm with you. Somebody just, you know, submitting here, they think I'm wonderful, doesn't do it for me.
With the mayor's permission, I think we need to clarify with the auditor what the actual review of the audit committee does. My understanding was that they confirm he follows audit guidelines. The review that you all would be doing is, does he serve you? Does he serve your interests? Is he bringing value to you? Not whether or not he's following auditing guidelines. I think they're very separate things. That's just my opinion.
That's why we're here discussing it. Any other questions?
No, I just need that answered. If there's a way to really have a relationship with those who will be doing his evaluation, but if they're not doing a similar type of evaluation as to what we're looking for, then this doesn't really.
Well, I believe there's probably a ordinance or resolution that establishes the audit committee, and I'm not sure about that, but we would need to ask the auditor, and if there was, there's no reason it couldn't be amended. But again, the reason you do a performance evaluation is to make sure that your interests are being served and the interests of the organization. If the audit committee is focused on whether he's following the established audit guidelines and doing the work versus what your expectations are, you all will individually meet with him. You all will individually say, this is the kind of work that I need you to do this year. He will be bringing those results to you. So the question is, are you getting the performance that you want, not whether the audit committee is satisfied that, you know, he's following auditing guidelines.
I think we're going to continue this discussion. Commissioner Flores.
I actually will echo the sentiments of our county attorney. At the end of the day, we use that as a tool when we do our evaluation of the auditor. And at the end of the day, we should have reviews of all three individuals that report to us.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you. I agree. I think our relationship with the auditor is a little different than they have with their committee. As our legal counsel has pointed out, it's, you know, it's more, I think, our relationship with that person and how well we all work together. In looking at the tool itself, I think it's also appropriate on all of them to include a box NA, not applicable, because there are going to be areas at times with all of us where some things may not be applicable because we've never had that kind of interaction with that individual, and to be able to try and leaving it blank is not right either, because then you don't know whether you missed it or whatever. So I would make sure that you have an NA on there. So, but I agree on I'd like to, in addition to what he happens with his committee, I think it's important that we have our opportunity as stakeholders as well.
So actually what I think, Ms. Kaufman, your light is still on. Did you have a comment? I would actually like to see the audit review committee present to us. I think that would be something that would be beneficial to us, just because they know what you do on a regular basis. How you interact with us is different than the guidelines that are set forth. So if the audit, and I'd like to hear it from the audit review committee as opposed to the auditor, because they're the ones that are doing the review. So if going forward we can request that the audit review committee do a presentation to us, Okay, I think that would, and so where we are with the internal auditor right now is, are we okay with the questions that have been provided for us? Commissioner Powell.
One of the things that, thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the things that the internal auditor brought up was, being that he would be under us, he didn't want to be beholden to us or not fully engaged because of a review, something along those lines. Do you get what I'm saying? Did we talk about that? The idea that, you know, he provides internal audits, he falls under us. If it comes to us, and not necessarily him, but, and you mind if he comes up and explain that? He would be more,
Come on up, Mr.
much more clear than I am.
He is supposed to be independent. He is supposed to be independent.
Thank you. Sorry for putting you on the spot, but it's necessary.
Is this on? Okay, thank you. David Zamora, County Internal Auditor. Thanks for the opportunity to come up and give a little explanation about what we're talking about today. What Commissioner Powell was speaking of is probably with regard to independence. And so anytime if I'm getting evaluated by the board, there could be a perception that there is some undue independence problems. And what that speaks to is the Internal Audit Department is bound by government auditing standards that suggest you have to remain independent in appearance and in fact. So being evaluated may be a perception of a independence issue. So I think that's what Commissioner Powell was talking about. And the way to mitigate that is to establish policies or a governing structure that mitigates that independence issue. And that's what we have with the Internal Audit Committee. The Internal Audit Committee, established by ordinance, is required to evaluate the internal auditor at least annually and the internal audit function. And so by having that evaluation performed by the Audit Committee provides a buffer between the auditor and the board that I serve. So we kind of mitigate that risk of the independence perception. Doesn't matter if it's in fact, it's just if there's a perception. And so the Audit Committee does have, by ordinance, established the responsibility to evaluate. The other issue that may be in play here is if the Audit Committee is required by ordinance to evaluate the auditor, and then the board also does a performance evaluation, then there's a little blurring of what the roles are. Who's supposed to be doing this? Why are we both doing that? And so some confusion on the roles and potentially inefficiency if we're both doing the same kind of thing. I'm made aware of the tool that the board has come up with, and I feel like those questions are fair questions. I did supply each commissioner with the evaluation that the Audit Committee did for me, and there were, I believe, 6 or 7 different categories, not just following audit guidelines, but how do I do with my leadership, with my managing of resources. And so each of you should have what I was evaluated on that. So the goal is, and what may help the board with this, is the 360 performance assessment tool that the Audit Committee has adopted. What that means is we'll do a self-evaluation, which everyone's seen the results of that. But they also will collect information from my subordinates, from the county department heads that I work with, from the commissioners with county administrator or administration, so that we get a full picture of what the auditor does to get that complete evaluation. So that you would have, as the board or each commissioner would have the chance to give their input, and then I can share the evaluation tool from the Audit Committee. So I think you have your input, but if we let the Audit Committee drive it, I think it resolves the independence issue that Commissioner Powell was speaking of.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward. Don't go anywhere, Mr. Zamora.
Thank you, and thank you for bringing that up. As I was listening to this, I remember an earlier conversation I think I might have had with your predecessor or even you. You audit departments within the county. You don't audit us, the commissioners.
Correct.
Or anything that we do. So the level of separation, I mean, it would be one thing if we hired you and you were auditing us and we were going to hold firing you over our heads because we don't want you to say bad things about us.
Right.
But that's not the case. Your job is the rest of the county departments. And so I think that there's a level of independence and separation that already exists due to that. And us having our evaluation of you tied to our relationship with you, the communication you have with us, and these questions, they do seem reasonable. But I do think that there is a place for us to have an evaluation of our relationship with you and performance in your department, simply because you don't audit us. So that separation is already kind of built into the system. We, hopefully, all of us as commissioners are not going to either protect or target departments within the county that we want you to do. I mean, that is part of what your job is, and we are ethically bound not to do such behavior.
That would be interference.
And that is interference. And if that were to happen, I mean, that raises different scenarios for us on the board that we would have to answer for if that were to happen. That should be brought to the public awareness too. But because you don't audit us, I think that level of separation is already there, and that, you know, we should have the discussion on our relationship with you and how you present efficiencies for the county.
Yes, correct. If I could add a couple of things to what Commissioner Woodward said, I agree. There is an inherent separation there. Another possibility, and what we're talking about here is a perception of independence or conflict, and another perception that may occur would be the impact on the scope of my audits. If I know I'm being evaluated by my bosses, maybe I stay away from sensitive or political topics, or maybe I audit the ones that particular commissioners want me to look at. So I don't want there to be a perception that there's an influence on the scope of my work as well. So I just want to make you aware of that.
Commissioner Flores.
I understand what you're saying, but you can take that approach now, because technically we hire and fire this position. So you could work under that premise that you could do the bidding of the commissioners. I think that we're hiring someone that's ethical, that is not going to take that approach, and that you are going to carry out the work that you have been carrying without any influence from this board. That's the expectation, at least, that I would set forth of this person that's going to be ethical. So even you mentioning that's a little weird. But at the end of the day, I think this board should have the responsibility to have a discussion amongst each other about the employees that report to us. We have no other opportunity to speak about your performance, the administrators or the attorney's performance, other than being up here. This allows us an opportunity to, one, do a review process, see if we're happy with that person's performance, and to provide feedback. So I am a big fan of structure, of transparency, and having an open dialogue. And unfortunately for us, this open dialogue has to happen in public. So that comes tied to these positions. And it's not something that we want to air out people's dirty laundries or anything like that. But if there's areas where there needs improvement, then we do have to take our job seriously and make sure that we address that like any other employee in corporate America. So I understand your point. I just hope that us having a review once a year is not going to deter you from doing the work that you're supposed to do.
No, and if I could respond, please, thank you. A couple of things that The board does have an opportunity to comment on my performance as part of the 360 evaluation.
But we don't get to speak to each other.
Correct. Okay. The other caveat that I wanted to bring up is by ordinance, I'm required to follow government auditing standards, which mandates independence. And that's the only reason I bring it up is so the board can be aware that that's what I'm careful to maintain. And I think that if not everybody understands what independence in government auditing standards is, that's why it's my job to let you know. But because I'm bound by those standards, I want to present any potential conflict or concern to be considered in this process. And so that's really what I'm doing, is just kind of bring it to your attention that there's some potential conflict of interest, there's potential influence of independence. But then again, the blurring of the committee doing it and the board doing it, and who really has responsibility.
But we're doing, you know what, Mr. Zamora, I'm going to stop you.
Okay.
Because the audit committee is evaluating you on different protocols and different standards than we would be. Attorney Kaufman.
I just wanted to point out that the same issues apply to the administrator and to me. It is my responsibility to provide you with impartial, professional judgment. There are times when individual commissioners are not going to like it. And that's not going to stop me from doing my job, and nor am I going to be afraid that you're going to give me a bad review because I give you advice or tell you that something cannot happen the way you would like it to happen. It's my job, and it comes with the turf. The same thing for the county administrator. It is his or her responsibility to give you their best professional judgment. We, the county administrator and the county attorney, work more directly with the commissioners for sure. And there will be instances when we are telling commissioners things they don't want to hear. We understand that that comes with the turf. That should not be a deterrent from the commissioners being able to comment and have input into what we do.
You know, I have a question at the end. At the end of our meetings, we always have reports or information given to us by the administrator, by the attorney. Why isn't the auditor on that list? And then we as a board can actually interact with the auditor as a group at our meetings. Because other than the auditor coming into our office quarterly, whatever it is, we don't interact with the auditor, whereas we interact with you at every board meeting. I don't know how the rest of the board feels on that, but I'm just throwing it out there. And I just sort of butted in front of everybody, so I'll go back to my list. Commissioner
Mayor,
Powell.
Yes. I think there is a difference. However, you know, at the end of every meeting, we can add, and if he doesn't have anything to bring to the board, then he doesn't say anything. Most of his is actually auditing departments, writing reports. You received one today on consent. So I agree that he has to have a certain amount of independence and not be, choose this word properly, not be impacted by what may come out, because we do. I mean, I have to tell you guys sometimes things I know you don't want to hear, but I have to tell you. And I think that's the same standard. I'm not saying he shouldn't report to you, but his function should be different. He should not go into a department to do an audit with an edict. And I'm just being upfront with it. Because we expect our auditor to come in clear-minded, do his job based upon the audit standards. And when that doesn't occur, you will see your county administrator speak up, because we need to be fair about whatever is being done and how it's being done. And we won't always agree, but 9 times out of 10 we will, because the rules are what they are. And that's what he's coming in to audit. Are we following rules? Are we following our own rules? Are we following federal rules? And he does that. But that's what it should be between us. And if we're not following rules, that's his job. Tell me what I can do better. But we can, to answer the question, put him on so that if he's got something he needs to tell the board, he can tell me in advance, and then we can put it on, or put an NA, not applicable for this board meeting.
Well, that'll be a discussion for the board. Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Mayor. Mrs. Zamora, you indicated, I believe in my office as well, that no other auditors from any counties in Florida would be under this type of evaluation, or is that correct, or?
Actually, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I'm not aware of what the other counties do as far as setup, if they have an ordinance that has an oversight audit committee that oversees the audit function. That's what I'm not sure of. I'm not aware of that as I look around, that there's a separate ordinance that separates that. But the audit committee serves on behalf of the board as an oversight for our office, and so that's where most of our work is done. That's where they approve our audit plans. They opine on the risk in the county. They're an advisor. They serve on behalf of the board. But I wanted to be clear, though, I am not afraid of an evaluation, but it's my job to just present anything in my professional judgment that may be an issue so that we're protected. I proved on my first evaluation as internal auditor that, as per the audit committee, I shown that I'm doing a good job. I exceed expectations, and I will do a good job. And as the county attorney said, I'm not going to let anything impair that judgment. I'm just merely trying to point out some of the issues, potential issues that may be out there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you. So I'm fine with, if I can participate in a 360, that's fine as well for me, as long as I have an opportunity in a way to present my feedback, then I'm okay with that. So whether it comes in a 360 as being a participant in that, because typically when you break that down, you see it by subordinates, you see it by the folks, your supervisors and that sort of thing. So they separate out different categories of people, and so that's what a 360 does.
So
I would
what questions are included in the 360?
It would depend on the relationship to that individual. So when you're looking at a subordinate and their relationship with their and I hate to say superior, but to their boss, it's at a different relationship or a different set of standards that you're looking at. They're being asked, do they feel they're being treated fairly? Are they given clear direction? Are there goals? Do they, how's the communication? All, from a perspective of somebody who is being supervised by somebody. And then, as colleagues, where they're working, so when he's working with the managers, department managers, they're going to have a different criteria for evaluating on. And then as board members or their supervisor, if you will, we would have another set of criteria because our relationship with that individual is different than it would be, for the other people that are around. That's what's really great about a 360 is they look all the way around at an individual and who they're interacting with. And, so they may do a great job with their subordinates, but they don't communicate well with their superiors. And so, you can have a 360 that, looks, and it's like, well, you're doing well here, but you got an issue over here you're going to need to take care of.
Well, if we're doing a 360, what would keep us from including these as the questions from the board on the 360?
Not necessarily. The 360 is taking information from everybody that you interact with, or that you have a responsibility to interact with, and compiling it. And they will get asked different questions, and his audit committee is going to evaluate even on a different, because their interaction is different from the subordinate and different from the superiors. And you want to talk about it, Mr. Khan? I'm sure you've seen them and participated in them.
Yes.
Why don't you introduce yourself since none of us actually.
Yeah.
All right. Well, first, good late afternoon, everybody. My name is David Kahn. I'm the new HR director, and I am exactly 1 month in. So nice to be here.
Welcome to this.
Thank you very much.
Would you pull the microphone a little closer to you?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yes, I am familiar with 360s, and I think they are a valuable tool. And one of the things I like about a 360 is that you can ask virtually the same question to multiple parties and find that trending. So you can see if the way that the people who report to them are rating them the same or different versus the people who are at the same level or at a higher level. So to be able to compare that and find those differences is important, or if it's not different, that's nice too. That's ideal.
So
I don't know if I answered your question, though.
establishes the questions in the 360?
That would be done in the same way that we are working on this tool. So if we were to say that the questions presented to you last week for the performance review, the ones that you're holding, are ideal, then I could turn these questions, or we could turn these questions into 360 questions. So you're asking the same question, but maybe changing a word or two to show that it's the different reporting structure.
Anyone else have questions? Okay, I actually had Commissioner Woodward and then Commissioner Flores. No, the other way around. Commissioner Flores, then Commissioner Woodward, sorry.
You want to go first?
Go ahead.
So whether we do it 360 or this manner, it's still a performance evaluation tool that's going to be done by the board. At the end of the day, there has to be a decision made on whether this is a person that we want to keep or we don't want to keep. And I think that's how these tools sometimes are used. Right now, we are being asked to renew a contract for this particular position, but we haven't even done a review. I've had interaction with Mr. Samora for 5 months. So if I wanted to look for past performance evaluations to see, does that currently exist? No. So this is why doing evaluations on an annual basis is to people that report to us. That way we have feedback. If this person is not someone, and I am really sorry that we're talking specifically about you, but let's say in the future it's someone else, and that person's not doing what they're supposed to do, we should be able to have something that says, you know what, this person is not meeting the standard, and we don't want to renew that contract. So that's why I like transparency, and at the end of the day, there has to be a decision maker. Is that board that you currently report to, do they have the authority to remove you if you're not doing your duty?
No, that's the
That's
the
why it's
board's
important that it comes
correct.
back to us, because if we have an employee of ours that's not meeting the standard, then we should have every right to remove that person from that position. Sorry I'm bringing it in these terms, but there has to be, the buck has to stop somewhere, and it has to stop with us because you're one of our employees, unfortunately.
I think if I could add to that, when in the ordinance also, it gives the responsibility for the committee to attract and interview and make a recommendation for the hiring of the internal auditor. The board does approve that, but they go through and vet that. In the same way that they do the evaluation, if there's below expectations, they recommend the same, that I should not continue. So they don't make that final approval. They don't have that authority, but they do, I suppose, make those recommendations for appointment or not.
Any further questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Flores?
No, that's...
Commissioner Woodward?
Thank you, Mayor. I realize we're talking specifically about the auditor, but I'm not sure. At this point, I would like to suggest that we do an evaluation on each of them and also the 360. I mean, why can't we have like a hybrid? So the 360 would be done, across the board, but us also doing our evaluation. There's a couple of reasons we would have the chance to have the discussion with our fellow board members. And, some of this would maybe reveal different relationships with different board members, and, maybe some of us might have a problem with some of that, or, just having a better understanding amongst ourselves and each of you. I think if we're doing this, all three of you should be evaluated. And I like the questions. I like adding the NA part that Commissioner Weiss brought on, because not everything's going to be applicable. And even if it is applicable for some, may not all. And if we can't answer it, give us the option to put an NA on there. I like the questions. If this is about, are we just discussing whether or not to do the auditor? Or are we going to do all three?
I think we're going to do all three, but right now we just started with the auditor.
So for the auditor, then at this point, I'm not informed making motions, but I would make the motion that we do the evaluation of the auditor and also have the 360. So, we would do this evaluation that you've created and then also have the 360. So that way we get a full understanding from all the way around, but it also gives us a chance to have discussion. Because of sunshine, we can't just do a 360 for the auditor.
Right now, we're just talking about the auditor. I think
Yes.
so basically, if you look at the questions in here, there's 8 questions, 8 or 9. These are more of, what's your relationship with us? Not, did you finish the job on Thursday and it was supposed to be done on Friday? That's not what this is. This is more of, how are you communicating to the board and how is the board communicating to you? I'm comfortable, now what we're doing here today is saying, the instrument that's in front of us, do we like this or not? And if we like this, let's move forward with it. So this instrument in front of us, which actually, these questions came from the Florida Association of Counties, or National Association of Counties. So this has been done before. Other auditors have gone through this process. So I'm comfortable with this as a tool for us to review the auditor. Commissioner Flores, your light is on.
I was just gonna make a small recommendation. When you get to the areas like team management, and then you give a score, I would like to see a couple of lines that you can write in an answer. Because if let's say hypothetically, you give one straight down ones, if I was receiving that review, I would like to understand why I'm receiving the score that I'm getting. Either your excellent verbal skills or whatever, or you need to delegate or whatever. So under each area, there should be maybe 2 lines that you can provide feedback on the numbering system, so that way they know how you're getting rated. So if I got a bad rating, I would like to know why.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
So in some evaluations, if you receive a 5 or a 1, you have to justify, you have to write definitively, you have to justify why you gave that rating. Is that going to be a requirement for this particular tool, or just at your option?
I'm not making that a requirement, but
Okay.
It just an option. If somebody wants to provide additional feedback, there is an area where they could provide that. I know there is an open-ended questions in the back, but if you want to isolate, you can. If you don't, you don't.
I'm comfortable with that. I think, so, since we're doing one at a time, the auditor, as we have in front of us, adding NA as another option, because there may not have been the opportunity, and adding a line or 2 so that you can explain why you answered the way you did. Is that what everyone would agree to? Okay. So do I need a motion for this? Because what we're trying to do right now is approve what's in front of us. So I need a motion to approve with the 2 additions. The one is the NA, and the other is adding a line or 2 underneath each question, so that if a commissioner wants to explain why they did the answer they did, they can do that.
So can I make a motion to approve, but we're just the county auditor?
We're just on the
It's not
auditor.
separated in the agenda, but we can do that. Okay, so I would make a motion to approve with the changes the mayor mentioned for the county auditor.
So I have a motion and a second. And I have, okay. So this is, we are going to evaluate the auditor, and we're going to use this as the evaluation tool. So,
Is the 360 part of this, or is that is also 360?
Well, Commissioner Mayor, through the mayor. At a previous meeting, I thought the board had determined we would do the 360 in the next process. If you'd like us to expedite getting it done and come to another meeting and delay, but we'll certainly have that ready for the next evaluation period.
okay, that's fine, because I remember we spoke about that, and because we were going to try to do the 360 for everything. So, okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? See that that motion carries 5-0. This is specifically for the attorney audit, the internal auditor.
Mayor, if I may, if the board could assist in one other thing, because we'll start working on the 360 immediately. We need to discuss how far up, how far down will that 360 go? I think Dr. Khan's familiar with typically how we would do that.
Department heads?
So that would be 2 levels below the county administrator. I don't know that, the administrator can opine on that, but not all directors have the same relationship or have the same amount of
For the auditor, would it be
interaction.
his department, his whole department then? Because, okay.
I mean, his
They're all
department
direct
isn't very big,
reports.
so.
It should, the way we've done this in the past, this has been, the 360 has been done in previous years with the previous internal auditor, but they went, again, to the county department heads, they went to the county administration, they went to the people that work for me, and included all of that input. So that's how we've done it in the past.
Good. Okay. All right, so we have the county administrator, which, since our county administrator is leaving May 31st, I don't think we need to do this, but let's put the process in place for the future administrator. I believe the additions that we made, the NA and the lines underneath, would be relevant here also. And again, these questions were from, I can't remember if it was the National Association or Florida Association of Counties. So many of these questions, when I gave everybody copies of these, this actually was before Joelle and Bobby were here, 10 different questionnaires all asked the same questions. So that's why it got wielded down to what we have in front of us right now. So we have, basically 10 questions, 9 questions with, with the ability at the end to also add additional information. We can add the NA and the 2 lines underneath for decision-making. And again, I don't think this is something we need to do with our administrator right now, but this would be part of the process it would probably be something that will be part of the contract for the new administrator.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All in favor, Commissioner Weiss? We're voting. 5-0. See that motion for the county administrator carries. Now we're on to the county attorney.
Mayor Marino, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Just to be clear,